If something's broken, just apply Fragments of Silicon.
Welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me, as always, is the regular crew. And let's shuffle onward to the news. Twilight, why don't you start us off this week?
All right. Well, not really all that much has been going on. Besides that work, the continuing workplace renovations are going pretty smoothly. They're actually started working on the inside of the store now instead of just the new part. And they've been tearing up the floor and applying new wallpaper and such. And it's coming together pretty well. Some departments are now missing the walls and getting new ones built in. But yeah, like I said, it's coming together pretty well. Weather has been random as usual in Kentucky, and that's about it.
Okay, short and to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Petty, you're up.
Mostly a slow week. Though a couple days ago, my cat Luna has something up with her ear.
Mm-hmm.
It's called a Hitoma, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, her ear is kind of puffed up.
I see.
So we're kind of keeping an eye on that and see if we need to take her to the vet or not. Because they can go away on their own.
Hematoma?
Yeah, hematoma.
Just means there's blood inside of it.
Yeah.
You know, like not inside the veins where it belongs, but
Yeah.
It's usually not serious.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I think what I saw, it's only serious if it's causing her a lot of pain or it's starting to change colors.
Right.
And so far it looks like the swelling has been going down, so... Hooray. As far as gaming news goes, Ogre and I finished Kingdom Hearts 3 finally. God, that boss was a bitch. 2 weeks of grinding.
I didn't know Kingdom Hearts 3 had co-op.
No, more like co-stream thing.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Ogre is doing his usual Ogre thing of commentating while somebody else plays a game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of what he does, usually. More often than not these days. Mainly because Naka and Ogre have been doing a lot of JRPGs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, this one's his fault, so...
I know. But I'm like, Naka's once again in the driver's chair, so... You know, it's like, when you bust... You know... Anyway...
Yeah, so also Final Fantasy XIV's 5.2 update just dropped. And oh boy, the new Eden raid tier is going to be a fucking hoot. We were having difficulties on normal with some of them, so yeah, this is going to be fun. We start on Savage tomorrow, I believe. Yes. So look for that tomorrow.
Yeah. So ratings back on the slate.
Yep. I'm also going to try and finish the story before raid tomorrow. So, hooray, more story time. Anyway, I think that's it for me, so next victim.
Well, that'd be Golix.
Well, on Saturday, this came up. I believe, or was it anyway? This past weekend, I was playing Ring Fit Adventure again, and I bruised my toe up good. So speaking of hematoma, thankfully I don't seem to have one forming under my toenail because that sucks. It's pretty common in like stubbed toes. So I didn't play that for a couple days, but gonna start again tomorrow, hopefully. Weather-wise, we've had an annoying amount of freezing rain. Not like a lot at once usually, but last night was kind of rough driving home. It was supposed to turn to regular rain, but it was too cold, so the rain froze. So that was not a whole lot of fun. Not a whole lot else in personal stuff, and there's plenty of video game stuff going on, although a lot of the time I'm still just playing Pokemon Sword because I play Pokemon games very slowly. But yeah, I still will need to do more of the new update for Dead Cells and have games to play for this week too, so my schedule is pretty full.
All right. If that's it, it's my go. Let's see, an addendum to last week. I have further spoken to my brother, and it looks like he is aiming to come out the last week of June. So if that holds, it won't interfere in like.
Is that when our season break is scheduled for?
I haven't really looked at it. Like, but season break or not, E3 is E3.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's like, honestly, a seasonal break there would make things easier, but,
We're gluttons for punishment.
Right. But I haven't really sketched out when the season ends. I mean, we're about halfway through season 12 here. So, if someone else wants to do that in the meantime. Anyway, speaking of the show, there's been some last minute shuffling about for next week. Also, the interview that was planned for this week has been canceled until further notice. That notice being the people, get back in touch with me.
For Friday this week, to be clear, the one that we're having in like 5 minutes is not canceled.
It'd be very awkward.
Not the craziest thing I've seen, though.
Fair enough, I suppose. But the point is, next week's going to be probably part 3 of our Let's Play of 80 Days. And Friday's going to be the interview that we were going to have on Wednesday. It's a cross-wired. It's happened before, but it's nothing. It's nothing that didn't get fixed. So, on that note, we shall merrily roll along to the interview that we are doing today, right now. And joining us this week is Clément Marthe of Playtogether Studio.
Hey there.
Right. So how we like to start things is we like to ask the people behind the studio, behind the game, how they got their start with video games, both on a personal and professional level.
Okay. So yeah, well, I started when I was a child, around I guess 6 or 7. I got a Master System. And then I got a Mega Drive and started on console like this until I think PS1. Then I got my first PC. I think the first game I played on PC was Half-Life, and got me hooked on PC gaming. Then I started to do LAN parties. So StarCraft, Diablo 2, Warcraft 2, then Warcraft 3 after. All of these games, and I really stick to multiplayer games, playing a lot of Counter Strikes, etc. And then after, I had to choose to go to university, and then I wanted to do software engineering and to work in video games afterwards. My parents were not okay with this, and they thought computers were just a trend, and there won't be any job when I come out of school, university, etc. So I didn't fight too much, I guess. I that's maybe a small regret I have. But so I did business as they wanted to, and I did business school, and then it was useful. I mean, it, it brought me a lot of business knowledge and skills. But then after I finished university, and I said, okay, well, I still want to work in the gaming industry. I'm a gamer, uh, 20, 30 hours a week. So that's my passion. I wanna work in that industry. I wanna see what I can do. Um, so I moved from France to Montreal in Canada,
Mhm.
and I started to work there as a business person. So I was doing the marketing in a very very small studio. We were just six. I wasn't even paid at the beginning. It was just an experience for me, and I was just lucky to have someone to trust me and to bring me on board and try things around. So I was doing the marketing and some of the um, product management, like production aspect of it. So we'd be managing the schedule of the people, the budgets, and what kind of feature we put in first, and the planning of uh, uh, game development.
Mhm.
And then there, you're just in a room with just six people. We're working 10, 12 hours a day, and I got exposed a lot to game development, like the code and game design and all the things that I dreamt about before. And one of the programmers took some time, with me to show me Unity 3D, the engine, and I got hooked. I just started to do my own things, just little things. Um, then the studio closed, and I went to another studio, and I kind of I jumped from small studio to small studio because they were just closing after 1 year or so because there were lack of funding. Indies studio are tough to manage, and it's tough to actually live more than 2 years. Um, so then, yeah, so after that, I learned my stuff on the side, just with YouTube, Udemy courses. Um, a friend mentored me a lot. Like, he helped me a lot. It taught me a lot of what I know today in Udemy and uh, programming. And yeah, I worked for a AAA studio for 3 years. Um, a good part of it as a game designer. And then last year in February, I felt like it was time to leave the studio and start my own thing. Um, I felt capable of it. Like, I had the knowledge, and I just wanted to do my things, own the creative aspect of it, and but also the business side of it. So I chose to focus my studio on two things. Um, One thing is the escape room that we see today, and we see like
Mhm.
you're starting to play right now. Um, so yeah, there's one thing that my own games, my own IPs, but I also do contracts on the side, and work with on serious games, um, especially for medical treatments and medical research. Um, so yeah, I didn't want just to work for other entertaining products. Maybe I wanted to maybe help some people, along with games. So games beyond just entertainment. Um, so yeah, that's my the journey.
Yeah, it's quite a journey.
Yeah, it was a bumpy road, but it's fun. It's fun. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we've gotten a lot of self-taught people on the program in terms of how to make video games. I mean, maybe certainly entering sideways. They learned program, they got into games, but it's not. Anyway, in terms of the game Escape Room or Meta Experiments Escape Room,
Yeah.
where did the idea for this come from? What made you want to create a not just a puzzle game, but a multiplayer focused puzzle game?
So, well, it comes from my background. It's just that I love to play with my friends. It's just I prefer to play with my friends. Solo games are okay. I got amazing experiences with solo games like Heavy Rain, for example. But I spend my most gaming time with playing with friends. Not as often anymore, but because I work a lot. But that's the game I prefer, and I used to do LAN parties when I was like 12, 11, and we were bringing all these big computers to everyone's home, like, and we were just playing for like 48 hours nonstop, and we're barely sleeping, and it was the most amazing moments of my gaming life, if I say. So I wanted to kind of try to recreate that, um, and if I built something, it would be multiplayer, and something that is um, I mean, it's something that is possible to build alone or escape rooms. And I got this idea while doing an escape room with my girlfriend, and I don't know. We felt like it was a great, amazing experience, And I looked through Steam and saw the escape room that were already there and everything, and I don't know. It felt like I could bring something else on the table. So I tried, and in a few weeks, I got a prototype running, and a few friends tested it, and they said, okay, well, there's a lot of work to do, but it's pretty fun, and I felt there were something there. So um, I kept going and then released the first room. And I said, on the business point of view, um, it's kind of a niche, escape room, like, on Steam. And as a solo developer, you have to think about those. You cannot just go onto the wide like top down or FPS multiplayer shooter build and expect to make money out of it, or to at least pay yourself. So it felt great. It felt like a great mix of a good business opportunity, and also a funny and I mean, not a funny, but a fun thing to design, basically.
And well, how many people are working on Escape Room here? Is it just you?
Yeah, yeah. I'm the solo developer. So there's freelancers. Like, I got a friend who's doing the sounds and the musics. Um, and otherwise, the 3D assets, I just buy them to freelancers too, because I'm a terrible artist.
Right.
So I don't even try to do them. Uh, but yeah, and otherwise, yeah, everything is me, basically.
And how long have you been working on the game?
I started in August, I think. I started part time in August. Then I went on full time from October to December to release that room. So for the first room, there's a lot to build. There's the whole tech behind networking, bringing people in one room, make sure it's working, everything is synchronized. Um, and that takes a big chunk of time, of development time. Hopefully on the second room it'll be faster.
So is it just the one room right now?
Yeah, right now it's 1 hour time limit. One room, and there will be a second 1 hour room in for the release in April. So 2 rooms at release, and hopefully I can add another room for free after. If the sales are good and I see a potential to it, I'll add a third room for free.
Hmm. And in regards to the puzzles themselves, are they procedurally generated? Or are they randomized? Like, is it the same puzzles every time you enter the game?
It is the same puzzles every time.
Okay.
So yeah, that was something I've thought a lot. I thought about a lot, like replayability of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about some procedural solutions, but I mean, once you know how to crack a code, then having just a different result, I'm not sure it's quite fun, you know. So I haven't tested it, but in my mind, it wasn't as fun as just doing something. Uh, just one time would be enough, you know. Just doing it a second time with the different numbers for me didn't make much sense. Um,
Yeah, I think actual escape rooms have a few, like aside from changing specific numbers, they have a few small things that they can change around to refresh it. But even with that, I think they're generally not keyed for, return business.
yeah.
Well, that is certainly a factor in replayability, but I'm also wondering, uh, are you concerned about people just looking up the solutions on YouTube or whatnot?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, now you cannot stop it, right? You cannot stop people to make guide and videos and screenshots and whatever. So I mean, you have to live with it, and uh, the players that just read a guide and play the room, they just ruin their experience. So this is a choice. I don't mind, but like there's no purpose doing the room, right? um,
Right.
so yeah, well, I would I would maybe do it myself to know to because if I really like the game and I'm stuck at some point and I'm stuck for dozens of minutes and I'm like it's been an hour or and maybe I'll look at a solution, but that's it. I'm not the type of player that would just uh, go through the game in like 2 minutes because I read a guide or I saw the videos. So yeah, it depends on on the type of player you are.
Hmm. Fair enough question, I suppose. But let me see here. Now in terms of the actual, in terms of the puzzles, how come up with the design of the?
So I start to build a layout for the room. Um, I just write a very short story of what I want in a room, and I start with the layout, and then I have a few ideas of puzzles, but they're not really clear. And as I flesh out the room with uh, uh, stuff like walls and the roof and everything that the atmosphere of the room, I get new ideas. I get new ideas, and I get um, ideas of puzzles that could fit inside that environment. So I have a few ideas when I start, but usually they are replaced by the one I have when I build the room and um, yeah, because they fit better in the environment. I see them like this. I see them um, when I build the things. So it slow down a bit sometimes because I don't have any ideas. Sometimes it's just slow. It's just I'm stuck and I don't have any ideas of really interesting puzzles. Um, so yeah, I sometimes go online and try to see on Reddit or puzzles websites where they have puzzles, and I try to find variants to that, or I try to create some kind of a mechanic around what I see. But most of the time it's just me building the room and having ideas like this.
Mm-hmm. And let me see. Now, in regards to the time limit, how did you land on an hour? I mean, is that do you feel that is a good time for? And is it just applying to the one room? Like when more rooms show up, is it going to be longer?
So I planned my room around an hour experience, but actually it was before it was 45 minutes, and I play tested the room with friends and they said, well, in 45 minutes we don't have the time to solve it. I mean, they are really good at solving it. They were very good at solving it, but even though they were good, they didn't have the time to finish. So I was like, okay, well, it's way too hard. Let's go for an hour. And it seemed like it was the right time for people to solve it. And at the same time, people who didn't solve it were not bored, and they didn't quit before that hour to finish. So and a lot of time they will just start again and try to finish it. So it feels like the right time and to I mean have the time to solve the room, and at the same time not get bored if you don't um, achieve it. So that's how I came up. But originally it was 45 minutes.
Hmm. And how long has the game been in beta?
I've started the beta in, I think, early December. The beta is actually ended right now. It's been what, I think, a week and a half.
Hmm.
Right now there's a demo on Steam that people can try. There's a 20-minute time limit on it. It's just for people to have a taste, but they can come back in the room as many times as they want. It's just that I want to just give a quick look of it, and then if you like the room, if you can just wish list it, and then you can just wait for the release and get the full experience if you buy it after. But yeah. So the beta lasted, I think, about 2 months.
And in turn, what was the feedback given during the beta? What did you find most helpful from the player base that went through the room? And did you implement any of those suggestions?
Yeah, so a good chunk of it at the beginning, especially, were bugs. A lot of bugs, a lot of different things. Objects going through the floor, going through the walls. I cannot spoil it, but some puzzles were broken and they didn't work as expected. So you were stuck sometimes. Very rarely though, because I hate when there's a showstopper like this. But so I try to be careful with it. But sometimes networking problems too, like people not seeing the same things. They are in the same game, but things are different from one player to the other.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a good chunk of it were bugs. Then after exploits, some people,
Right.
yeah, well, some people very proud to finish the room in 0 second.
I mean,
Because
that's
they
to
broke
be
the timer.
yeah. I
Yeah,
was
one of the strategies that's not valid in real life escape rooms is pushing your face into the corner of the wall for like hard enough that you clip through it.
That's exactly what they did. Actually, one of the first exploit was they were able to push a friend. They held an item like this exactly, but with that item they could push another player through the walls. There was some kind of physics weirdness where I don't know, an object has some kind of a very strong force, and it could just push another player through a wall, like like go through the collider in some way, and then you don't have to open the door. And if you don't open the door, the timer doesn't start. So they did the room like this. So that was quite fun. Some I've some exploits, some weird stuff, very rare. I let them in the game because they were used by speedrunners. Some people speed run the game. Um, like if you crouch and you move forward at the same time, close to something, you can climb on it. Um, if you spam crouch control or left control, and then you move forward, you can climb on things. Those are weird stuff that are fun and used by a minority of people, so I just leave them there. Otherwise, yeah. The other feedbacks were comfort. Some of like the rotation thing, like the examining, the act of examining items is has been reworked. Like I mean, 3 or 4 times, and I think it's right, but not. I mean, it still needs some work. Um, so yeah, feedback on comfort. The clues as well. The clues I had to rework some of the clues that were not clear enough. Some of them, sometimes it was too easy. I would see people like the clue will give too much, and you see it really quick. I would implement a fix, and then the next day I would see how people react to that fix, and so I would see new cohort of people trying the game, and they were like, okay, well, we're finished in like 30 minutes, and I would ask question and follow-ups with them, and then they would just tell me, well, yeah, those two puzzles, I mean, we did them in like 1 minute or 2 minutes, but I would expect people to do them in like 5 or 10 minutes. So yeah, the clues were too easy or too hard. Like some people would be stuck for hours. Um, so that was the feedback. Then I got I mean, very few people said they really disliked the experience. Um, and the general feedback was very good on the actual quality of the experience. Um, so yeah, and some of them were performance issue as well, like performance optimization. Um, yeah, low FPS on low end devices or stuff like that. So I had to optimize the hell out of the game.
Hmm. Right. And in regards to the story or the plot or
Yeah.
you know what is going on in this game? Who are you? Who are you? The people trapped? Is that important? Like who set up this escape room? That kind of thing.
So who you are, I cannot tell. You're just a someone invited, let's say air quote, invited by a professor that is a bit uh, mad. It's a bit crazy, and is doing experiments on the human mind, and you are some kind of is test subject, and um, he uses the experiments you're doing and the puzzle you're solving to understand the human mind. So the story is not just for this room. It's actually building some kind of a story arc where multiple rooms will. I mean, each room is a sequel of the story. So I hope to build a third room, so I will have a room to build the whole story. But the second room I'm building right now is uh, a sequel to the story you have on the first room, and so you still have the same characters and everything. So yeah, so you are just a lost uh, soul. I don't want to give too much, but you are just someone who's lost and is just been taken there, and then he has to get out, and you as you solve the puzzles, you unravel the story. There's more and more narrative that comes out of a radio in the room, and the professor talks to you, and then you start to understand what's going on. um, and at the end, when you open the last safe, you have a hint of what will be going on in the second room. um, so yeah, I don't want to spoil too much, but that's the plot. Does it make sense?
In the general sense, sure. Like, I mean, we don't really have a lot of details here for obvious reasons, but you know,
Honestly, I guess all escape rooms have plots generally like in real life, but I wasn't sure that there was more than just you're someone who's doing an escape room. So
well, that's why you ask.
mhm.
Anyway, now in terms of the 3 rooms, what is the release schedule here? Like, when this game gets released, is it going to have all 3 of them, or is it just going to be the one room initially?
So initially there will be two rooms.
Uh-huh.
There's one I'm building right now, plus a whole bunch of features that I have to integrate. So hopefully, I'm planning the release end of April, around the yep. Let me grab around the 29th. Um, so yeah, I forbid myself now to just set a date, a real date, because it's really hard as a solo dev to in the past I had trouble to keep up with the promise. I would say so. I would always be late of a few days. Um, so hopefully right now we aim at end of April with 2 rooms, and again if there is a potential, if I see people liking the experience and they if it leads to some sales that allow me to keep going, then I'll for sure build a 3rd room and I'll add it to the game, just to finish the story and to bring value for the people who would buy later. And it's also a nice plus for the people who bought the game and then they get an update, content update, not just a patch or bug fixes or something like that. So hopefully I'll do enough sales, to be able to do it.
And in terms of like development platforms, is this game being developed for Windows only, or is there a Mac and or Linux build?
So there's Mac, Linux, and Windows builds available right now for the beta and the demo. Originally, it was on Windows because it's way easier and it's. I mean, I think it's like 95% of players are on Windows, so or even 90%. Um, so those are the 3 first platform. Of hopefully, fingers crossed, if it works as planned, I could maybe extend that to Switch, maybe mobile. I'm thinking about mobile with different controls, but same rooms, same puzzles. So hopefully I can pull it off.
Indeed. And in terms of pricing, how much are you looking to charge when this game gets released?
So right now I'm thinking about 10 to 12 US dollars.
Uh-huh.
And release, I'm also thinking about maybe a 20% off. I'm not sure about that yet. So yeah, so I mean around $10 for 2, maybe, and for 2 rooms for sure, and maybe I increase the price later if the 3rd room, add another value, another hour of gaming. Sorry, so you increase the value of the game. So um, I don't know. I don't know. If I put it at maybe $15 first, and then after I make the other put in the 3rd room there, and I don't change the price, or if I increase the price later, we'll see. Yeah, around 10 to 12.
Well, indeed, in regards to the pricing, have you sorted out how would that work with the 3rd room inserted there?
How did I calculate that?
No, I mean, have you figured out if you're going to charge? Will the price go up on the escape room game when you add the third room down the line.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that yet. That's something I'm thinking about. I mean, for the people who already got the game, they don't care. They won't even see it because they already own the game. So for them, it will be a free update. For the others that would buy the game later, it makes maybe sense because you're adding time, playtime, right? So, but also, I've asked a lot of players during the beta about what they thought about the price, what they thought about the price, and $10-12 seems to be the good amount. So going to 15 might be a mistake. It was just, I don't know, it was just an idea, but so I'll think about it a lot and see if I do it. I don't know if it might be seen as a jerk move from the players, because it's not the intention, of course, but
I could not say. It could depend on how it's implemented. Like,
yeah.
It's like maybe like as you said, a free update to those who already own the game, but the price goes up. That's that's probably not going to chafe those who buy it later.
Exactly, yeah, and it allows me to give it for free to the first players, to the people who owns the game, instead of doing a DLC and then they have to buy the new DLC or to buy So yeah, it could be a good middle ground.
And right, I'll turn things over to my colleagues to see if they have any other questions of their own if they wish to ask.
I think I'm mostly good.
I'm good.
You're almost there for that save.
Last, that will have to wait as we've reached the end of the and Clement, you would like to thank you for being on our program and taking time out of your schedule to be with us here today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The name is Mad Experiment Escape Room. Its planned release date is charted to be late April 2020. Is there still any way for people to get beta keys or those off the table?
If they ask nicely on the Discord, yeah.
Okay.
Why not? Yeah, why not? If some people really want to try the full experience, they could come on my Discord and talk to me in private. No problem.
Okay. And outside of that, keep an eye out for it when it releases in a few months. And pricing is to be $10 to $12. And yeah, Petty Fan, when you can, play us to the next segment. All right. Music got a little choppy there. Anyway,
just a second. Sorry. Please ping me if you play and then you stream it. Just ping me when you do it, so I'll join you. Or, I'll try to be in the chat, or I'll try to be around.
Sure. It's like, yeah, we'll do that. Anyway, welcome to the topic of discussion. This week we are talking about Monolith Productions. Mainly it's been another slow week thus far in the video game industry. That's going to change as tomorrow, Animal Crossing Direct, but that hasn't happened yet. So we talk about another monolith. Last week we talked about Monolith Soft, the JRPG maker. This time we are talking about, well, what they're known for depends on the era. Like, if we're talking about old school Monolith Productions, they're known for a lot of classic and cult classic FPS games. If we're talking about modern day Monolith, they're the ones who power the latest Lord of the Rings games, the ones on console.
And then what? Next week we're going to be talking about video game adaptations of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I don't think those exist.
A Monolith joke.
Yet.
I know. I know, but I'm like, in real terms, I mean, there's a lot of influence there, but I don't think that if that got an official game, it would have been something like some obscure C64 platformer.
Yeah, or I suppose you could do like a... Yeah, I'm thinking of a few different gameplay versions of that, and they are all incredibly boring.
So, like a 2001.
Well,
like,
yes, that's... Yeah.
Anyway, that's in terms of era. Like, you can also divide it in terms of ownership. Monolith Soft, started off as an independent company, and then in 2004, 2005, they got bought by Warner Brothers. In fact, like, Warner Brothers buying Monolith was one of their first big steps into re-entering the video game industry. Warner Brothers has actually had about 3 stints in video games. Like, they actually owned Atari at the height of their console power. There was the short-lived Time Warner Interactive, which did not much of note. And there's the current Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, which owns quite a few developers and franchises, including the Monolith. In terms of their old franchises, well, they're a bit of a mess. It's like, we've had Night Dive on the studio before, and they've talked about like No One Lives Forever, and another good example is the Blood game we featured last year. To give you an example of how thorny these things can be, like Monolith Productions owns the trademark and the code base of the game, of the series, the franchise, but Atari, or back in the day GC Interactive, owned the publishing rights. And apparently those publishing rights continue on to this day. They're very
when that happens, generally no one can make anything.
Yeah, apparently there were some special clause, or maybe I don't think there was like an actual agreement beyond like what they could do, because things that have not happened with the Blood remake are like the source code getting released. That's still under lock and key, much to the concentration of a lot of FPS devotees. Like new content, or like the visuals getting touched up. Like Blood is still the same game you played back in the day, as opposed to some of Night Dive's other remakes, which actually have been altered from their original form or modernized.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, whether it be touching up the graphics, changing some things that didn't really work out. But yeah, that's just one example. Once again, No One Lives Forever. That's split up between fucking Warner Brothers and Activision and maybe other entities. It's like, and some of them are, I'm not sure like the status of, say, Shogo, or like Fear. Fear is actually owned by Warner Brothers. That was another situation where they got lucky, because initially Sierra Entertainment owned the Fear name, but like the Monolith owned the code. And this actually played a part, because that led Sierra Entertainment to create the very, very hated expansion packs to the first Fear game, which were done under different developments. And then Monolith was off doing a spiritual successor to Fear that was called Project Origin, and then the Activision merger happened, and then they managed to get the Fear name, so it became Fear 2.
Mhm.
And this has been fun and adventures in copyright. Like, anyway, so in terms of classic FPSs, yeah, these are they're known for Shogo, Blood, Alien versus Predator 2, the No One Lives Forever series, Tron 2.0. Not the Fear trilogy. They only did the first 2 games. I think they supervised the third Fear game, but that was developed by Day One Studios. Point is, they've got quite a cachet of classic FPSs to their name. Once again, not like most of them are not household names. Like probably their most famous FPS, I'd say pound for pound, is Fear. And then followed by Blood. I mean, you'd think Tron 2.0 would be up there. I'm like, maybe their best by sales is Alien versus Predator 2. It is kind of hard to determine things because sales records weren't as closely kept as they are now. And all that. But I suppose it doesn't really matter. In terms of FPSs from the late 90s to the early 2000s, Monolith Productions products come up quite a bit, but they're not going to be the they're not going to be named in the same breath as Doom, Wolfenstein 3D, Duke Nukem 3D, Serious Sam, Half-Life, all of those. It's a bit of a shame, no doubt, because as an FPS developer, Monolith is pretty top-notch. Not just in terms of like level design, but in terms of technology as well. They had their own, they did Blood in the, or it was done in the build engine, but after that, with the Shogo title, they created their own technology called the Lithtech engine. I'm not sure how widely licensed that was, but I do remember Lithtech being compared favorably to the Unreals and id Techs of the world back then. Like, that's not to say that Monolith didn't ever have missteps. Looking at you, The Matrix Online. Yeah, for some reason they did a Matrix MMORPG.
Oh god, that was them, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes, it was.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a thing that's remembered like at all. Just not even good or bad. It existed for a few years and then it stopped existing. Part of that is just because of the fact that the Matrix franchise shat itself with the sequel.
Yeah, nobody ever really cared much about I mean, they cared, I guess, kind of, but none of the Matrix games ever did nearly as well as the original.
I'm sure Monolith cared, but it's more care. Like, I mean, seriously, the game was handed off twice. Like, it was first at, if I'm remembering the chain, like, it was first at Ubisoft, then it was at Sega, then it was at SOE. And then SOE shit-canned it. Yeah, that's not exactly a stable, chain of events. And they have other disasters to their name. Blood 2: The Chosen. That, once again, not really their fault because Blood 2 was developed in less than a year, and it was a fully 3D polygonal FPS game, and it was done at the same time as the other game, Shogo Mobile Armor Division, was done. I'm like. And the reason they got greenlit in the first place is because Infogrames was GT was trying to greenlight as much as possible to have as much money on the books. Somebody eating popcorn?
Oh no, that was me. Sorry.
Just been a bevy of noises. It's like, a update turned on the notification happens. Anyway, Blood 2 was a big old disaster. And it's like, and they had other games. I remember, like, was it the platformer? Like, it was a really interesting one. It was Claw. Like, this is a real lost gem that needs to come back. Like, a really inventive, really good looking, really unconventional game for the era. Like, this kind of a Bionic Commando-y platformer being released on the PC in like 97, 98. You didn't get too many of those, especially since, we're entering the realm of 3D. 3D is law.
Yep.
I'm not sure if this is a thing that's owned by Warner Brothers or someone else. And also another, well, I can't say series, like there was a good game and then there was Condemned 2. Like, but yeah, Condemned Criminal Origins is a really underrated game. And Gotham City Imposters is their attempt at doing like the Team Fortress style of game, and it didn't really work out. Probably because people, when they play a Batman game, they generally want to play Batman.
Yeah.
Not like Gotham City Imposters, or I think it's taken from I'm not sure if this is Batman Incorporated or not. I don't remember offhand. But yeah, it's like in terms of the modern era, they've been doing the Shadow of Mordor, the Shadow of the Middle Earth, Shadow of Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War. Shadow of Mordor, probably the more I just remember everyone going nuts over this game in 2014 because of the Nemesis system. Like, if you know anything about this game, it's probably this. It's the procedurally generated orc Nemesis that adds a lot to the gameplay, apparently. I'll be honest, I've never played any of these yet. But it seems to
it just lets you recognize a mini boss and have it be like unique to you instead of just being the same for everyone who plays, pretty much, I feel like.
Right. Anyway, in terms of I think this is more notable for being one of the various examples of loot boxing in the industry. Or at least it was at time of launch. It's like the store. You know what these things are by now. It's rife with microtransactions, loot boxes, gameplay attuned to these things. They've since been removed. Like, they got rid of them in 2018, like about a year after the game got released. After it really didn't matter. So, anyway, in terms of their overall body of work, I think they are a very, very beloved developer that used to pump out a lot of cult classics. In terms of what they've done, like they've moved on to full-on AAA developer. They're developing one of the highest tiered franchises at Warner Brothers. The Lord of the Rings. Honestly, in terms of developing things, it's really hard to get higher than that, especially in terms of licensed stuff. So, Monolith has done good for itself. Any other thoughts or comments on this subject?
In conclusion, Monolith Soft is a land of contrasts.
Productions.
Productions. Sorry. You're right.
Yeah.
Monolith Soft was last week.
Yeah,
They do software, and that's throwing me off.
I know. It gets confusing, and people confuse these two because they're both monoliths.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
It's like if there was a Squaresoft and then a Square Productions, and they were completely unrelated.
right. I mean, all that, but this is how you differentiate Monolith Soft versus Monolith Productions. That's why you got to say the full name.
Right. Well, they're both lands of contrasts, especially with each other.
Yeah. Anyway, that'll about do it for our discussion on monoliths. Thankfully, next week we'll actually have things to talk about in terms of content. I will fully admit that the past few weeks haven't exactly been strongest in terms of talking about things, but sometimes you just got to fill the space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. Coming up on the week ahead, as mentioned before, the Friday interview is canceled. Maybe they'll come back later on. I don't know. Like I said, it all depends on the people that I've been talking to. Believe me, this is far from the first time I've ever had negotiations just get ghosted in the middle of discussions or in the middle of, oh, hey, we agreed to a nominal date. I'm like, are you still doing this? And I get no answer. Like, it's just one of the rigors of the job. Anyway, coming up on the Sunday reviews, we'll be having reviews of Sky Cannoneer. It is a new arcade RTS tower defense. It's the spiritual successor to Rampart, if you know what Rampart is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a solid update. It's got some issues. I'll get into that on Sunday. It's missing multiplayer. Like, I honestly don't know how that was why that happened, but really should have been there. Anyway, we got Red Bow for the PlayStation 4, which is another Stranga game release. So that means spooky psychological horror. This one is definitely more psychological and less horror, though.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say. More a neutral ghost story. Very Japanese-inspired souls or spirits, and certain situations. But once again, more on that on Sunday. And new injunctions for the Nintendo Switch. This is another first-person puzzle game. This one's involving connecting blocks, and connecting blocks in kind of a electricity-like fashion. Like, it's kind of like Kirchhoff's Revenge, except it's very, very new wave retro.
Mm-hmm.
More on that on Sunday. So until then, I shall wish you good gaming.